What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of doing tier list ratings with factions. Today we've got Drukhari on the table, and just to preface it, because we've seen this in the comments a lot from past videos, this is not based on how people are doing in tournaments. This is not based on anything like that. Are they competitively viable, right? This is looking at them on paper. What do they do? What can they do? And, you know, a holistic approach of how they're going to adapt as ninth progresses. Maybe they'll never do this, but this is just our opinions based on that. Our opinions based on tournaments and how good these are, just raw opinions. Go check out our other tier list videos that go over the Xenos, the Imperium, or the Chaos. That's like our wholehearted opinions on how they're doing in the tournament scene. Let's be real, because that's what we were doing. We're like, oh, this, you know, Harlequins are S+ tier, Admech are S+ tier because they're unbeatable. But then we get into this and they're not there, and all these things are getting shifted around. So again, this is just a fun thing. This is not truly where it stands. So just let us know in the comments if you agree or disagree. A lot of you seem to like to do that, so keep it up. So Damien and Thomas.
Get off that soapbox. So let's talk about Drukhari.
So Drukhari, so what I've got here, because it seems like this is kind of I know we keep changing this. This is what the Space Marines were ranked when we first did them. So this is the baseline that we've been working off of. As you can see here, how many points they have. You can get up to 10 points per category. So I figure it's best to kind of look at this at that approach rather than so we know where we're working from and when we're comparing them to Space Marines. Because they are our baseline, it's good to compare to that. So when you look at the defense of Drukhari, the goods, the bads, and the uglies, what do they have? The first thing that comes to my mind is -1 to hit on Venoms. They do have invuls on their vehicles to shooting, but not so much in close combat. So there's some good there. There's some bad there as well. They're squishy Eldar, though, at the end of the day.
I mean, if you take Coven, you get a lot of toughness and invulnerable saves there. Grotesque, Talos, Rax, they all can have 4-up invulnerable saves, so can be tough. A lot of 6-up feel no pain. So they got a lot of durability, and obviously you got a lot of speed and movement because of the Eldar.
They do,
right?
They do.
You guys zipping around, right? So while you can't spread a bunch of toughness 3 guys out, you do have a lot of other things to make up for that.
They pretty much get 6-up feel no pains as well. So
yeah, I feel like they're pretty tough defensively. Like you can spam bodies, you can spam invulnerable saves, you can be super quick and mobile. They got a lot of things that kind of boost up the defense.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. However, I will say this: Chris Blackham and I had a conversation about Dark Eldar the other day, and he says that they're probably worse than Imperial Knights right now.
Wow!
Man. I just want to lay that out there. That's
Chris laying it out there. Tough.
Literally his opinion.
So
Chris laying it out there, tough. They are. I mean, so I think they're good defensively. I don't know what that number looks like, but you know, I think where they're going to struggle is some of the other categories.
So I don't. Are they tougher than Space Marines?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, dude. I really don't.
I mean, they do have mobility on their side. That's like the main thing that makes them okay. Like, I mean, here's what I'll say too. I played against just the other day. This dude had 90 racks and 20 grotesques in his list. Okay, and I didn't care.
I mean, that's just invulnerable spam. It's no different, right? You're just, am I going to make 5-up invulns or not? For the most part.
It's 4-ups, right?
4-ups, 4-up, 6-ups.
But yeah, it's all relative, right? Like if you're running there punching them with 100 million orc attacks, you don't care what they get, right? Like if you're running there punching them with 20 power fist attacks, like all of a sudden that's a big problem, right? So
it's true.
It's just a different thing, right? So you're approaching it from an AdMech perspective, like I'm going to shoot you with 100 million bullets. Like I don't care what your save is, you're going to die.
Right. I guess that's fair.
If I'm shooting my 6 las cannons at those venoms, like get the hell out of here. You might not kill any of them. It's terrible. So like it's all relative.
That's true.
It's you definitely need volume of fire over quality shots when it comes to killing them, right? Because you want to put tons and tons of bolter shots or tons and tons of shots into a venom so that you just physically can't make those saves, or into the guys so you physically can't make the saves.
But even like their troops versus a Space Marine troop, right? Like, I mean, if those guys are standing off, I mean, the Space Marines are going to crush them, right?
I mean, if you don't make saves, sure, but at the same time they're cheaper, right? So you could take more of them.
I mean,
So
it's the whole glass cannon approach, right? I mean, they are, you know, if you're gonna like dedicate your whole army firepower on them, they're gonna go away, right? I mean,
right.
so I'm not saying they're tougher than Space Marines, but I mean, um,
I think
they're at
let's
least a
put them at
6 or 7.
7. Let's put them at 7.
So then you look at their offense.
Now, this is where I think they're gonna suffer quite a
Yeah.
bit. I mean, there's just not a lot of things that do work.
So
I mean, I would have used to have said, like, because of Grots and because of Ravagers with Doom, awesome, but you just
right.
can't do that kind of stuff anymore.
So look at their anti-infantry. They have a lot of good anti-infantry, right? Because they're wounding you on 4s because of poison weapons most of the time. They're got a lot of shots, right?
Yeah, but
so
it's 4s with your normal save though.
yes, that's true. It's volume of shots. That's literally all it is. It's, hey, I'm gonna dump hundreds of shots into you, and you're gonna fail saves at some point. But the good thing about them is they're wounding on 4s. Whether you're T5, whether you're T6, whether you're T7, as long as you're not a vehicle, they're wounding you on 4s. It's really good. Like, that's really good. We saw it in the last battle report going up against big bugs. They didn't care, right? So like, they're really good in that sense. Then they're really bad against any type of vehicle lists for multiple reasons.
Yep.
Obviously, unless you're doing haywire spam, but let's be real, that's not enough unless it's not enough with how expensive those like Talos and Chronoses are. So like, they have dark lances. So now you take some Ravager with dark lances, and that's pretty much all you have to kill vehicles, unless you're running a full Chronos or full Talos like with Haywire. But like, Haywire doesn't do enough to like, and those are expensive big models. They're not really gonna just blow up a bunch of stuff from a distance or anything like that, right?
And interesting little tidbit about Talos, because this is from an AdMech thing. You know, if you take a squadron of vehicles like that, like Talos, for example, and one of the bombers flies over, I get to roll 3 dice per vehicle in that squad when I bomb them. I just found that out a little while ago. It's pretty interesting. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
So yeah, I don't think they have enough anti-tank, right? You have to have enough screening to protect your couple anti-tanks, and they don't have a lot of options. So like, if their anti-tank gets taken out, they're not going to do a lot. It's just volume of fire. Can they put enough fire? There's going to be some matchups that they're just going to dominate in. Like, but there's going to be other matchups where like they're going to do nothing. Like, they're literally going to do nothing.
How do we feel about mandrakes though, from a damage output? We don't really see them. We haven't really seen them in the being played right now. But
like, just with mortal wounds.
Yeah, I think they're interesting. I do think they're interesting.
Mandrakes are awesome. I mean, they don't. I mean, it's just relative, right? Like this, you know, they're not that cheap, and usually you're using them to score like secondaries and do other things. You get the back, like they're good for like, you know, hit and run on some small unit. But you're like, my main offense is based around.
Like, sure, if there's scouts on a back objective marker and they drop in to clean them off of it, sure.
I'm just saying, from a damage output, I think that can count for something because they can dish out some mortal wounds.
And then you look at like their combat. I mean, it's okay, right? Grotesques, but they're pretty expensive. The Talos Chronos, like, you're going that whole thing, but then like you got all your witch cults and you got all your Kabalites that like really do nothing. Let's be real, they really do nothing.
Yeah,
they can keep you in combat.
Like, Drazar's cool, he's dope, but like the rest of the like incubi, like, I'm sorry, but they're just straight up bad.
Yeah, they are. And it's such a shame too, because those are some of the coolest.
They are, but like, they're one 40K. Wound. They're not like they're T3. Like, you gotta give them something. You gotta do something with them. Like, I look at them and I'm just like, ugh. I want to take these because they're dope, but like, are they gonna actually do anything? Probably not. Like, that's how I feel when I look at them.
Yeah.
And to me, like, one of the best things, one of the best builds that I would like to see work is Lawrence Baker from Tabletop Tactics. You know, he used to love to run, or he loves Dark Elder. It's like his favorite faction, and he does a Venom spam, and I always thought that was super cool. But I just don't think it's really viable right now
I,
because
so I think I honestly like after playing that list, I think the Venom spam like it could work, but if you go against a super shooty army, you're gonna lose because they're going to be able to pop too many vehicles too fast, and then you just have infantry on the board. It just comes down. It really comes down to what the mission is, what you have to hold, and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I don't know. They have a lot of shots. They do have access to some rerolls, for certain things, but like their combat isn't really there. Their models that do hit hard in combat are expensive. Their tougher models are expensive. So now you're playing this Eldar game without a lot of bodies on the table, which isn't really how they want to play.
how do you feel about their bombers though? Their bombers aren't bad.
I mean, I don't know. I disagree with flyers in general right now because I don't think they bring enough to ninth edition. I think you're sinking points into stuff that can't score anything except engage on all fronts. So sinking anywhere from 100 to 200 points into a model that is just going to fly around like that and get killed by potentially 2 las cannons, it's a risk.
It's tough. I mean, all the vehicles going up, like killing not being as critical. Like you say, you're not scoring as much, and it's just like you don't get all the negatives boosts. The modifiers stacking to keep it alive, so it's a little bit easier to kill.
And I don't know that brings enough offense to the table. Still, like it's just a bunch of shots. Still, like there's nothing that goes, oh wow, I'm gonna go and kill a whole squad with this. So I think they're probably somewhere around 4. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but like they have stuff, but like their punch is not enough to deal with a lot of things.
Yeah. So I mean, what does that translate into a number?
Yeah, he said 4. He's thinking about 4.
I'm thinking about 4.
I wouldn't be offended by 3.
Yeah, I can't argue with 4. I mean, you have some high damage and high AP weaponry. Like you can spam that to a certain extent if you know like what type of opponents you're playing. So I think there's some builds where you can like maximize against certain opponents, but there's so many holes. So I wouldn't say their offense in general is super low. It's just like as a take all comers list, it can be very specific and you'll lose because it's not effective against the other lists. So, I mean, I'd be kind of generally fine with a 4 or maybe a 5. I feel like they can hit like a truck if they're in the right circumstances.
Let's put them at 5 then. I guess.
So primary, honestly, I think they do the primary fairly well. The Venom spam filled with guys is literally what Harlequins do, but for cheaper. You don't care. They don't care about doing other stuff.
They're less survivable though than Harlequins, right?
I mean, not if they're 4-up and vulnerable save racks. They're the exact same. There's nothing different.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They're not -1 to hit, are they?
The Venoms are.
The Venoms are, yeah. And they have a 5-up. They just have a 5-up invone instead of a 4-up invone. That's the only difference. But then the guys that come out are basically exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you take
racks. And they're cheaper. So, and if you don't, and if you take Cabalites even, like, it's 45 points, and it's 75 points for a Venom. Like, that's so cheap. Like, 120 points you're in the hole for that. You can take 8, 9, 10 of those, and you still have half an army you can build around it. You know what I mean? So it's like that's a lot. You see these Harlequin armies right now with 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, it's a lot of obstacles.
So now you're doubling, tripling just that. So like that sucks to deal with. Like that just straight up sucks to deal with. Like it's not bad. So like personally, I think that they do the primary very well. I think that they can contest stuff. I think you can field enough bodies to contest stuff. So like I think they do the primary better than Space Marines do, honestly, because I think you have to kill a vehicle, then you got to kill the guys inside. You do that, they might take the objective from you. That is an annoying thing. We've seen it. It plays out. Do I think they're a 10? No, but I think that they're higher than Space Marines.
I would probably tend to agree, just based on the nature of most Space Marine armies. They're kind of limited in bodies, so you can't just really afford to spread out and control the whole board with massive amounts of forces. So Dark Eldar just have to concentrate, but they can zip around and redeploy, move, use terrain to their advantage. So in the heavy terrain boards, where they just kind of, oh, I run this 5-man unit out and snake that objective away from you, or I need to get 3 units over here to take over your 1 OPSEC unit over there. I can do that pretty quickly and control the tempo of the primary.
So
and,
you think an 8 or you think a 9?
I think
no,
8.
I think 8 is good.
Because it's not that durable, really, when
Yeah.
the stuff spills out.
Yeah, the biggest problem with them is like early game they can do it pretty well, but the later game when the attrition starts falling in, then they can't hit back enough.
Yeah.
To kind of maintain.
So I'm gonna move the secondaries all the way up to a 10 because I honestly think that they have the tools to pull secondaries off easier than the other armies that we've marked at a 10. They have so many cheap throwaway units for getting engage, getting deploy scramblers, raising the banners, like doing all these actions. They also don't have psychers, so they're able to do stuff to kill like a Bore the Witch and things like that. You don't have to run them super heavy in any directions. If you do a Venom spam, yes, you're going to give up, bring it down. So maybe they lose a point for that. But you don't have to build that way. But if you want to, control the primary and do stuff, that's probably one of the better ways to play. But does that offset the other stuff? I don't know. They can get stuff very easy. They probably only give up that one secondary. I don't know that they give up too much other ones unless you're doing triple patrol. You could still minimize that with 3 characters, so assassinate's really not there. People can't kill psychers against you. I don't know. What do you guys think in that category?
Yeah, I mean, I think they can get secondary all day long. It's casual for them to get it. It's really annoying. But can they deny secondaries? Like you said, from a list building perspective, certain builds will give up one, pretty easy. But outside of that, like what are they getting? Are you picking kill more because they have just a bunch of little cheap units?
Maybe.
Grind them down, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they're giving up. They're potentially giving up 1, if not 2, killing things, just because they want.
I think that drops them. I think that drops them down.
Yeah, because they're real good at getting theirs, but they're not necessarily good at blocking you from getting yours.
That's true.
So, I could easily see someone say, "Well, you got 45," and I'm like, "I just get 45 too."
Yeah.
So we're going to play the primary.
So the CP farm, like honestly, I don't know where to rate them with this. I'll give you my 2 cents on. As far as I'm concerned, all their stratagems are garbage, just straight garbage. Like, maybe there's other builds, and I'm just being biased here, where a couple of the other stratagems with like the Coven and stuff like that become useful. But like, if you're not building a build like that, and you're building like a Cabalite build or a Witch Cult build or something, like I can literally tell you there's one stratagem I used in that entire battle report, and that was to be able to back out and still shoot. So it's like.
I agree with you to some point, but I also think they have the most powerful stratagem literally in the game.
Sure, Vect.
So
sure,
which is Vect, but it is very expensive. But being able to do that at a crippling time for somebody, like some of these, I don't know about the builds right now, but it used to be right. Like, well, for example, if I took my old AdMech list from 8th edition, right, and I went up against somebody that had Vect, and I wasn't able to Born Protectors to save my dudes, like you just stopped me from doing like literally my linchpin stratagem that I needed.
No, I mean it's a good point. And I guess if you look at it like that, honestly, I think they have enough CP to do that 3 times a game if you build your list correctly. If you want to build your list around doing that stratagem, and then really nothing else, because like if you do 3 patrols, or even if you just do a battalion, like whatever you want to do, right? You're not spending any CP to build anything because they get +4 CP for doing 3 patrols. So they're starting the game with 12 CP. There's really no relics or extra warlord traits you really need. Like, there's really not. So you're starting the game with 12 CP. You're getting a CP every single turn, and if you really want to, you can regenerate CP on 6-ups for stratagems and command points that are used for you and your opponent. So you have the potential of gaining 2 per turn amongst that game. So you're going to end up having in between 12 and 22 CP for this army that really doesn't need CP. You can vect every single turn if you want to. Like
you can't get 2 per turn because you're still limited 1 per battle round.
no, you're not, because you gain the 1 and then you gain 1 from.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
what you're saying.
for the ability.
Yeah, you're right. For the command phase. Yeah, but you can't re-roll the Vect, so I mean it's a little bit less effective. I mean, there's still a smaller chance that it might just not go off, and you roll that 1, you're kind of screwed. But does that make it all be all right? Because you're like you said, there's a rack strat that lets you remove racks around.
Yep.
They can come in from the sides. That's pretty helpful. But for the most part, like there's not really any strats they're using. Like
yeah, like,
I don't know.
Are you making your power for pain abilities, your combat drugs better? Like, no, you're not. You're not doing that. Like, no one cares.
So let's just put them at like a 5 or a 6 then, because they don't have to spend, but they don't have great stratagems, and they do have Vect though, which I think is very powerful.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think sitting right at a 5 is fair, because like I honestly don't know. Like, let us know. Like, I don't know what makes them like go up, because I don't care for their stratagems, because they're not there. They're not reliant on them. They don't need to spend. Yeah, I think they just fall in the middle.
It's a super bummer, right? Like I'm excited though for their codex coming out, and we'll see like what they give these guys, because they need an overhaul.
They need some. They used to be fantastic.
So then you look at list flexibility and kind of, we've kind of sat in, what do they have the tools to shape towards where the meta is going, right? If it's a super vehicle heavy meta, do they have the stuff to deal with that? If it's a horde meta, do they have the stuff to deal with that? Do they have enough units inside of their plethora that allow them to change and adapt to that, or are they stuck to a certain thing? Are there list builds where they, like, no matter what the list is, are there certain units they're going to be taking no matter what?
So I don't know, like that's an interesting question. I think that so I love grotesques. I think they're one of their better units. I think Talos are super good. I think Venom Spam is a possibility. I think Ravagers are good when they're given the right tools to be able to be good, I guess. And by that, I guess I'm mostly focusing on like kind of having Doom or something like that, so that they could have rerolls in the future. But right now, I guess I don't know. They do have a lot of tools though. They have a lot of units that people don't take. Like when was the last time we saw Hellions flying around on the table? Those things are so sweet. But Are they useful right now? No, I don't think so. Or Scourges?
I mean, they're useful for picking up secondaries because they move so fast.
Scourges have good damage output. I mean, those things can pick up vehicles pretty well.
I mean, they got a lot of data sheets. I mean, I don't want this list flex number to be based on, well, who has a lot of data sheets. But, like, if you're playing a lot of tanks and you're trying to take them down with Dark Eldar, your plan is not to kill those tanks. I mean, that can't be your plan. It's like, I'm going to touch that tank. I'm going to try to, get out of the way, fly behind a ruin for that tank. But, I'm not. I don't have the tools to just really just destroy tons of vehicles.
Yes,
so
I mean, there's
kind of forced certain directions with them. You're forced in a lot of directions with those guys to kind of use their speed over their firepower. Because Ravagers are they're just bad. I mean, they went up in points. If you take in Dark Lances, like if you ever shot with Dark Lances, like get ready to be disappointed. There's not enough shots, even with your little guy over there giving out reroll ones. If they change that with core, it's going to really even be worse.
Yeah, it's true.
If you're talking about let's do disintegrators without any kind of reroll, you're like, man, let's fish for 5s because strength 5, 2 damage is great until you can't freaking move them. So,
and then I feel like you have to have some sort of venoms in lists. Like, you're not playing Dark Eldar without some sort of venoms, right? You're just going to.
Yeah. So I kind of think you take it out. I mean, you can kind of go the Coven and Rax route, or you can just be like all Kabalites and just like spam
bodies and venoms and see what happens.
Yeah, but it starts to be kind of similar, you know.
Yeah, and so like as the meta's shifting, there's really, even though they have a lot of codexes, there's not a lot of ways that they could alter their building to deal with different things. Like they don't have a lot of anti-tank, they don't have a lot of this and that, right? They have certain units for certain kind of particular situations, I guess you can say, right?
Yeah, losing some of the guys that went to Index, the elite, you know, Cabalite guys, where you can like load up on lots of blasters and stuff. Now you're just kind of limited, just like a troop can carry one blaster. You're like, gosh, you know, it's just not great. I mean, I feel like their flex is low. I would only give them like a 5 or a 6, quite honestly.
I'm fine with a 5 on that. Okay. Let's see where they fall.
Color. Yeah, what's the number?
The number is a big 39.
C tier. That seems about right. It's not Chris Blackham F tier with the Knights. I'm sure you could probably make an argument somewhere. Some very frustrated Dark Eldar players like, they're D's, they're terrible. But I mean, like I said, when we make the numbers, it's not necessarily can you put them all into a list that's going to take on all comers.
Yep.
You know, they do have tools to kind of function versus specific lists. So kind of gives them extra points here and takes some points off. So
cool. Let us know in the comment if you guys agree or disagree.
Like yeah, if you like it or not, let us know. We'd love to hear the comments. We'll see you in the next one, and take care.